I'm Lisa Broom with the Tuesday, August 8th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story, it's being described as a sign of confidence in the local economy. That assessment from a top official regarding a decision by the Inter-American Development Bank to extend the Barbados Competitiveness Program. Ryan Broom has the story.
The Barbados Competitiveness Program, which has been granted a one-year extension by the IDB, is a government program designed to improve productivity, efficiency and competitiveness in Barbados. And Program Coordinator Terry Bascom says not only is the decision a vote of confidence for the Barbados economy, but an expression of confidence by the bank and the government in the project's importance. Mr. Bascom noted that his project unit will be pulling out all the stops to ensure that when the officials from the bank come to do an assessment in February next year, they will be satisfied with the progress made to date. Jointly funded by the government and the IDB, the cost of the Barbados Competitiveness Program is close to $12 million, with government injecting almost $2 million. The four-year project started in 2010 and should have been completed in March 2014. Ryan Broom, CBC News.
Barbadians will be privy to the future plans of the Democratic Labour Party, not only as the ruling government, but as a political organization at its upcoming 59th Annual General Conference. The event, being held under the theme Achieving Global Competitiveness, is slated to get underway Friday and will run until Sunday at the George Street Auditorium. General Secretary Donville Innes says the party wants to ensure there is a strong connection between the DLP and the government of the day. He sees it as a chance for ministers to account for their stewardship.
There have been some concerns that there's been somewhat of a disconnect sometimes. And the annual conference certainly allows for rank and file members, ordinary members of the party, to come here to George Street and to speak their minds and to hold our feet to the fire. We do have our monthly batch meetings across the island side, but this is the one occasion where we are all equal, where every member of this party can come here, look politicians in the eyes and say, boss, I agree with you or I disagree with you.
Highlights of the conference include the opening gala and the address by Prime Minister Frendel Stuart. A number of resolutions are up for discussion, focusing on areas ranging from the economy to candidate selection. Conference coordinator Senator Verla de Pisa says the representing ministers will also address education and energy.
So those are going to be the two main points of discussion for the conference, but there were in excess of 15 resolutions submitted, and some were overlapping, and we did have a panel this year to ensure that we weren't duplicating our resolutions. So it would not be individual constituencies this year, but individual topics that we will be looking at.
Senator de Pisa added voting for key positions will be conducted this Friday.
The nominations are very interesting this year. The president, our current Prime Minister, is of course unopposed this year again, and there is again no requirement for voting for General Secretary, as Mr. George Pilgrim will be returned as our General Secretary. All of our other positions will be open to the election by our members.
A 27-year-old woman is in serious but stable condition after being attacked by a man at Paris Hill, St. Joseph this morning. Police say Margaret Christopher of Halls Road, St. Michael, received multiple lacerations and was semi-conscious when she was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital by ambulance. According to reports, residents helped the injured woman treat her injuries. Her attacker, whose name has not yet been released, was also transported to the QEH by ambulance, suffering from wounds to both wrists, which are believed to be self-inflicted. He is currently under police guard. Two men wanted by police, listed as armed and dangerous, are now in police custody. Romario Antonio Clark, 20 years, of the Garden Land Country Road, St. Michael, and 18-year-old Rashane Anil Blenman of Fitz Village, St. James, turned themselves into police sometime yesterday in the company of their respective attorneys at law. They're now assisting with an ongoing investigation. Meanwhile, police have put out another wanted notice for a St. Michael man considered armed and dangerous, and members of the public are advised not to approach him. He is Kemal Yard, alias Mali, 24 years, of 1st Avenue, Long Gap, Spooners Hill. Yard is about 5 feet 6 inches tall, has a slim build, brown complexion, and has small lips and small brown eyes. Yard is advised that he can present himself to police accompanied by an attorney at law or family member. Any person who may know the whereabouts of Kemal Yard is asked to contact the police emergency at telephone number 211, the nearest police station, or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-TIPS. That is 1-800-8477. The St. George man charged in connection with gunplay last month at the Glebe playing field, where 2 people were shot, has been remanded to prison until September 8th. Julian Omari Cave, 19 years, of Parish Land, appeared in the District B Magistrates Court yesterday to answer charges of wounding with intent, endangering life, and using a firearm without a valid license. The shooting occurred following an argument at an event dubbed Beer Fest at about 3 in the morning on July 26th. 18-year-old Jamario King received gunshot injuries to his upper body and collapsed. He was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, where he underwent emergency surgery and was hospitalized. Meanwhile, 50-year-old Lavastin Callender received a non-life-threatening wound to his stomach and sought private medical attention. We have more news just ahead in a moment, but first we want to hear from you on the question, does Barbados need to update its gun laws? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the answer for you at the end of the news.
Today, Sebastian Daniels is teaching his daughter to drive. He's a little nervous, but he shouldn't be. Because no matter what happens, his auto insurance from Sagicor General has them covered. And besides, it turns out she's a natural.
Nice job.
Sagicor General, wise financial thinking for life.
Scores of university-bound students seeking bursaries visited the Ministry of Education on the final day for them to take advantage of the government offer. Eager applicants were streaming in and out of the office throughout the day from as early as 8:30 this morning in a bid to complete the process. Some of the students who spoke to CBC said for the most part the application process went smoothly.
As you can see, the line is outside, but it's okay. It's moving pretty quickly. I got here about 5 minutes ago. I got through already.
It's pretty smooth. I mean, the lines are pretty backed up, but other than that, you just come in with the right documentation, hand it over to them. They staple it, put it in the box, and it's good to go.
Students also outlined the importance of receiving bursaries to remain enrolled at UE. Some people complained that unemployment was a factor, while others simply could not afford the fees. Others say their primary concern is government's ability to provide for all.
So many people were down here, and people would have had to hand in their things prior to today. So I'm wondering, how is the process of the government picking who they will give these bursaries to?
The government usually get criticized for the negative aspects of their endeavors, but they never usually get praised for what they're trying to do. So it's a good thing, it's an asset to the public, and hopefully they take advantage of it.
2 former senior police officers are among 30 justices of the peace installed at Government House today. General Sir Elliot Belgrave administered the oath of office to the new JPs, who are now empowered to sign affidavits, warrants, photographs, and carry out other duties. Former Deputy Commissioner of Police Bertie Hines is one of the new JPs, and he told CBC News it's an honor to be selected for such a prestigious office. Mr. Hines says his new duties are an extension of what he was doing as a sworn officer. Now, the other JP, former Senior Superintendent of Police Morgan Graves, is also pleased at his new appointment. Plans have been announced for a new phase of bilateral relations between Barbados and Panama. Confirmation of this from Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Senator Maxine McLean. It came during the official opening of the Panama exhibition and lecture at the Barbados Museum titled "We Are Giants, the Story of Barbadians Who Built the Panama Canal."
Barbados and Panama have enjoyed a friendly and productive partnership. Bilateral links are based on commonalities of culture, like-mindedness, and ancestry. Furthermore, Barbados has identified Panama as one of its main bilateral partners in Latin America. And you may be well aware, of course, that August 15th marks the anniversary of the migration to Panama and the opening of the canal. And this is a fitting symbol of our respective historical journeys and will demonstrate a commitment to building a new phase in our bilateral relationship.
Senator McLean also wants more education made available to the public about the contribution of Barbadians to the construction of the Panama Canal and has called for the exhibition to be held annually.
In this way, Barbadians, especially the young, would learn more about their brothers and sisters in Panama and the contribution of their foreparents to the construction of one of the wonders of the world. In fact, I would say perhaps if we can in some way share aspects of it with our family and friends in Panama virtually, I think that would also be an excellent way of encouraging them to maintain that interest and understanding of the contribution that Barbadians and West Indians have made to Panama, and in fact how we can continue to maintain those bonds.
Meanwhile, there is a push for the creation of a memorial in honor of those Barbadians who helped build the Panama Canal. Director of the Barbados Museum and Historical Society, Alessandra Cummings, is among those leading the charge. She says it's an effort to ensure the memory of those Barbadians who left our shores to provide a better life for their families is not lost. Ms. Cummins also told the gathering those Panamanians who attended last week's 3rd Diaspora Conference, Barbados Network Consultation 2014, have already visited the exhibit at the museum and are giving their support.
But one message that they left with and that has kept resonating with me, and I think with my colleagues, they said, we want to see a memorial, we want to see this history remembered beyond the scope of this exhibition, beyond lectures, beyond even books. So I think there's a responsibility before us. Madam Minister, Mr. Minister, we want to ensure that we have this opportunity, and the Barbados Museum has tasked us, myself and Professor Marshall, to remind you that we are determined to make it happen.
A book titled The Barbados-Panama Connection Revisited has been published this year after being in the works since 2004. Should there be a level playing field, the outcome of reports on performances of Caribbean economies would be far different from the pictures painted in recent publications. This is the view of Government Senator Verla de Pisa. She was responding to a report from the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, or ECLAC, which stated Barbados has the slowest growing economy with a projected growth of just 0.5% this year. Senator de Pisa says some of the countries registering growth, unlike Barbados, have benefited from assistance, including debt forgiveness.
We all need to be aware that when we read these statistics that we have to know what the backstory is and not just take them as a given. I don't want to out any of the countries, but all you need to do is to do your research on the top 5 and see how many of the top 5 have received that debt forgiveness to allow them to leapfrog over other countries. Okay, what we need to do though outside of international indicators is to understand what our roadmap is and ensure that we stay on that path.
Minister of Industry, International Business, Commerce and Small Business Development, Donville Innes, says government has fully accepted that the economy needs to be restructured. He says the process is one that will not be completed overnight.
We took the measures that we deemed necessary to stave off any further downturn in the economy. I'm satisfied that we have bottomed out and we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. As the Minister of Finance, the Prime Minister, we all said over and over again, we invite Barbadians to work with this government to address these challenges and really put Barbados on a sustainable growth path.
We'll have regional news next, but first a reminder that we want to hear from you on the question, does Barbados need to update its gun laws? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the answer for you at the end of the news.